Uh, okay. So then the third is the infrastructure systems itself. Yeah. In infrastructure, you have ecological system services, how ecology contributes, whether it is in food production, whether it is solid waste management. So how does it contribute, and how does the thinking, the construction thinking, how do you see construction? When we think about it, it's not just about structures, or it's not just about the tectonic forms. Okay, it is about making, the act of making, right? So in the act of making, how do you translate those theoretical ideas to something which is palpable, which is something which will be converted and executed on the side? So it encompasses right from the technologies which enable certain kind of design to how do you how do you equip yourself to manifest or to translate all those ideas into realities. Okay, so it covers that broad gamut. So in that, so if we have been theoretically talking about ecological system services, whether it is water management, whether it is solid waste management, whether it is the environmental food production itself. So all of this, what does it mean to architecture? That is one. The other kind of infrastructure system is mobility, which is not just about cars or mass rapid transit system. It is also about walking. It can be as simple as walking. So what is walking, bicycling, boarding, skateboarding? So what are the technologies? How do you design for that into consideration? How do you detail out those details, whether it is your campus, whether it is your inside your building, whether it is so for example, access to all is something which is which doesn't it's you are considering mobility of all kinds of people, right, irrespective of the physical kind of abilities. Yeah. Then there is water management or drainage management, both together. And lastly, it is amenities. What kind of amenities in terms of energy resources and energy recycling? So renewable resources, how do you utilize those in that? So all those comes in the infrastructure. So that is the third segment. The fourth segment is about uh, when you are talking about intervention in the heritage site. Okay, so uh, how do you start addressing that? Okay, so of course we are not a master's program to enable you to do everything, but people who are intervening in heritage sites, I think you can, for example, some of your pieces might have already located. You must have already located some of you, not all. But if you have already located, and if you know that you are going to do something with heritage in mind, it's good to start quite early, because documentation and putting the processes in place takes longer time. So rather than starting in the next semester, if your process can start this semester itself, it will be helpful. So towards that, we'll have that one of the themes is based on that. Then the fifth is construction in a digital age. What does construction in digital age mean? So whether it is, I'm not talking about the designing alone. So designing in terms of expressing yourself is one thing, but designing in a way where it enables, say, 3D printing technologies, or robotics, or any kind of digital age kind of communication, as well as implementation on the site. So all that, the entire gamut of how do you address construction in the digital age, that can be done. In fact, I had a session on conservation, architectural conservation in the digital age, which was last week. So that was a different, but this particular thing covers a whole gamut, and many of the industries, industrially, a lot of people are interested in this topic. So the whole practice is gearing up simply because there is a dearth of good quality spaces, housing particularly, and towards that, how does what are the ways in which you make quality of life accessible, good quality of life or quality of spaces accessible to all the people? That has been a very debated kind undiscussed kind of a topic. And how does these mass production or robotics or 3D printing kind of things enable that, and what is the role of critical thinking, architectural thinking in that process. Otherwise, we are going to get some machine produced kind of blocks. Okay. Then there is constructing subsurface or underground, which we have already covered. We have covered in basements. We have covered. We have talked about piles, and we have talked about vibrations. So those topics have already been covered. Then again, robotics and 3D printing have I have said about that. Then you have these nowadays everybody is going for automated spaces. Okay, so automation. So whether it is in your house automation, home automation, whether it is workplace automation, whether it is everywhere you have different applications of automations. How do you integrate those automations within your build form? What is, as architects, how do you go about it? And for that, some basics need to be understood, and that is the broader theme that we are talking about over here. Then you have biophilic architecture. So biophilic architecture, I would classify biophilic architecture is a very broad term. It can be right from corals, it can be mycelial bricks, it can be leathers made out of various plants and fungal products. But more specifically, construction of green architecture or green envelopes. Okay, whether it is terraces, facades, courtyards, indoor spaces. So how do you incorporate or how do you merge the vegetated space and the lived spaces together? What is the scope of that? So these are the broad themes that we would like to discuss with you. Some of the themes we have already conducted as lectures. Okay, some of the themes we would like to present, but at the same time, we would like you to come up with your notes or your readings of it, so that it's not one way transfer of information. It is we commonly discuss, because please understand that while we have some expertise in some of these topics, but obviously none of us are experts with in the complete sense. So some of these topics are new for us also. So it is a collective learning where probably we are a little, because of our years of experience and all, we are a little better, kind of not better, but a little differently placed as compared to you guys. So I would personally like to see this session or this particular these 1.5 2 hours as a very engaged kind of interaction between what you come to the classroom with, what kind of information, and how do you take it, how do you convert it, how do you means to have a discussion around that, so that we can convert and understand it, the nuances of it, which can be adopted and learned from. Yeah. With that, I'm stopping. I am done with what I had to say today. So I would like to hear from you guys what you feel about the way we are thinking, or whether you want to push us towards formal lectures alone. So kindly give us feedback. We have given, I mean, personally, we have lectured you enough for all these 5 years, and I don't think that format is going to be, uh, we are going to gain much out of it. I would personally like to gain, I mean, pack a lot in this 1.5 2 hours, so that you really carry forward this and towards in your practice.
I was also of the opinion that since they have this day pretty heavy, they
Hmm.
have a bridge studio first. Then most of them have their thesis discussions. I think those, especially with the visiting faculty, have no option than to discuss thesis on this particular slot.
Hmm.
So and then at 2:30 to start a heavy lecture. Yeah, or thankfully we've covered the syllabus the university based topics in some sense. That is, I was also of the opinion that if we can invite some of our past students who have addressed technology as part of their thesis, such that students here get get the exposure of of how they have been able to integrate technology along with their uh, projects that are there, and it will be a light discussion because someone would make a presentation and would share his experience. Yeah, so perhaps they could learn. So either one of these, along with these, if in between we can interspace, I think that would help. Um, because I think particularly to expect a kind of a deliverable on a Tuesday or a Friday, I think seems difficult considering the way the timetable is shaped as of now. You have anything particular to students have anything particular to say? I'm downloading the attendance since it is maximum attendance is there to help get the advantage to the students. Yeah, Viraj is saying something or something. You can unmute and say you did not. Can you tell us more about the final submission of IDS? Say it wouldn't be right for me to. It wouldn't be right for me to exactly come. We intend to have a Thursday slot between 12 and 1 to introduce uh, the the idea of the IDS is to resolve preferably a technological prototype, to be exact in some sense, that I would say. There will be four themes, more or less on similar lines to what Vikram just now introduced. Yeah. And the talks may, and some of the talks may aid to that. The idea is that students can decide which theme they can get associated with, either based on their thesis project. So if someone is working on an ecological project as part of his thesis, then the IDS studio can help him research and work out some typologies, or look at, yeah, or look at land, or look at river banks, or look at fragile ecosystems, anything that, or intervening in such, in such scenarios, that so the idea studio helps in him building a prototype in some manner or some data bank, and that data bank is then easily used maybe for one's thesis. Some may want to do the ideas some on similar lines, may want to take up something similar lines to what their bridge studios are happening. I gather that presently there is a bridge studio happening on infrastructure projects on metro stations. So perhaps someone would like to take a component of the bridge studio in the IDS studio and then resolve it technologically as some prototype, yeah, as a typology. So looking at, so the idea is that, yeah, people may want to address certain infrastructure projects that they have never attempted in all these 5 years, and think perhaps that it is to their interest. Like someone like I remember when I was in college, we, a particular year, the fourth year particularly, we all had the option to do one of the infrastructure projects. In one year it would be a railway station, in another year it would be some bus terminal. When I was there, it was an domestic airport. Such kind of projects where the scales are large. You're dealing with urban systems, public realm, yeah, so to say traffic, multiple concerns, feasibility, uh, multi-layered, or what do you say, build in, what would you call that, up building above the rails is, what do you call that, is tapping the FSI above, so all these kind of issues were addressed in that kind of, in one of the studios, or as one of the design studios that are there. At our place, we are attempting something else. So if there are people who think that in the infrastructure studio there is something that they would like to look and on that front, so one of the perhaps themes may be related to that. If I'm not mistaken, one of the themes is related to modular and housing construction. One of the themes is relate to cutting edge and contemporary practices in technology. All of them, right from 3D printing to uh, 3D printing. So there is a new set of faculty that is there who would be perhaps be in a position to introduce biotechnologies and things and like. And the last of the lot is perhaps intervening in a number of students are intervening in heritage sites, historic sites. And so how do you intervene in such areas using modern technology, lightweight technologies, um, so to say dismantleable so to say typologies that cause minimal damage, minimal impact to historic sites, footprints, things like that. So the idea is that the end product of the final submission of an IDS is going to be a small yet very intensely done type. If I would call it a type. Yeah. So if someone takes up an airport, that doesn't mean he's going to go about designing the entire airport, all aspects of it. But he may perhaps look at the structural system. He may look at how levels play an important role by way of departure, arrival, what are the formal areas, which are the public areas, which are the service areas, how does air conditioning work, how does structure work, how are roofing systems thought about. And he may just draw out a type, maybe a couple of sections, maybe a small typological model. I hope I'm clear. Vikram, am I clear by any sense what I'm trying to convey?
Yeah, Jimmy, for now, I think we'll stop at that because in the ideas on Thursday, you will
Yeah,
be.
I'll be repeating myself. In some
Yeah,
sense, I'll be repeating myself. Yeah.
yeah.
So this is the kind of submission. So it's a type. People will be exploring certain types and maybe presenting certain types. And the types will be dependent largely based on your areas of interest and all that. Yeah, I'll be repeating. He's right. On Thursday again, I'm supposed to speak. So I'll be repeating myself. So that's the kind of. So I think since the studio is running only once in a week, since the idea studio runs only once on a Saturday, uh, the talks need to happen on these consecutive lecture days, either in the services lecture, either in the construction lecture. If we can throw some light, or we can have some discussions, or we can call people to have some discussions. Yeah, I think then it would be an eye opener in some sense and help you understand how to go about resolving that. Am I
Yuvraj,
have
the thing was instead of discussing ideas, because that anyway is going to be discussed on Thursday. I just wanted to have some broad consensus as far as class is concerned on this format of how we are going to conduct this particular the construction schedule, the today's schedule. Are you okay with it? Because it is very important because you guys are having a very long day, um, and
so are we. So
yeah,
are we.
we are
So
also
are
having a long day. But we have long days every day. It is the complaints that come from your side, so I think it's very important to address that. So that is one. So whether
we.
this format of
Are
dialogue,
you all able to manage at least the first two studios on Tuesday, Fridays? How is it? Is the I really don't know if we conduct a lecture again at 2:30 after two studios in the morning, is it going to be fine or what is it? At least we have not been able to come in terms to the idea that at 3 o'clock, quarter to three, we have to start a studio that goes right up to 4:30. So can anybody throw some light of how you all are taking it and how do you expect us to go about it? Even if we call someone to take a small class of say, to take a small talk on say 40 minutes, uh, I hope you all are open to the idea. As I see as of now, all of you all have logged in. So at least you all are physically present there, but mentally, what is it? We'd like to know that.
your CRs or anybody can please represent your class and talk about it.
Karina, you'd like to say something? You being heading the college as you're heading the
Nishi,
college as student,
Nishi,
student. Ah,
Nishi, click it
Hello.
now.
yeah,
Okay.
Karina, you're heading the college. Can you throw some light on where and how you intending? Yeah.
Yeah, so like if I talk about myself individually, I do not have thesis today on Tuesday. So for me, it's kind of manageable. But I'm sure there are a lot of other a lot of other groups which have thesis and AL Bridge Studio back to back, so it does get exhausting for all of us. And like that's the same case with us on Friday. So the theory lecture which we attend on Friday is doesn't really turn up to be any, fruitful for us because we cannot pay attention so much about
What is
which
there on Friday at 2:30?
services.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So, we have spoken to the deans about it, but they've been constantly telling us to first try out a few weeks and then we can get back to them. So, and also the fact that this then also, if we try to cancel lectures, it then goes on to our Thursdays and Saturdays, and which we don't want because we don't want to lose out on our two holidays